Come in. Hey, I was just gonna stop by your quarters to see you. It's like you're reading my mind. Ever since we received that distress call from the Zeratin sector, we've all been running around like a herd of spooks Zatok. I haven't had much time to catch up to you. What's that you got tucked up under your arm? Okay, you can sit it right over there. Is something wrong? I was hoping you'd shed some light on that. I know things ended kind of abruptly last time. It was fortuitous in a way. That distress call came in only a few minutes after I left. I barely had time to run to my quarters, freshen up, and change into a new uniform. Yeah. It would have been awkward reporting directly to my duty post in the state I was in after I left your quarters. I couldn't very well yell, "It's the captain's fault." Now could I? Even if it kind of was. Not that I regret it, because I don't. But look, I know things got a bit awkward last time, but it's okay. You were going through a really tough time and a lot was being thrown at you at once. Your harpy of an ex-fiancé had just obliterated your engagement. I rush in and dump my feelings into your lap, and your mind was probably just racing 100 meters per second. I could understand you being a bit hesitant to... What? That wasn't it? Tell me what happened. If it was how strong I came on, I didn't mean to... Oh. That's a relief. You didn't strike me as the kind of guy who was intimidated by an aggressive woman, so... What happened? Come on, it can't be that embarrassing. Embarrassing is when Ensign Bennett accidentally flipped on the ship-wide intercom yesterday while you were on your private call with your old pal Captain Hester. And then he somehow scrambled up the controls so that way we couldn't kill the feed. From what Commander Rennick told me, by the time communications officers figured out how to cut the channel, everybody had heard you telling the captain about Emily, her running off with that mobster, everything. When you stepped back onto the bridge, you had no idea that we'd heard everything because, irony of ironies, the fleet engineers who installed your office module had soundproofed it and neglected to equip it with an intercom speaker. Everyone tried so hard to look normal, but you knew that something was off. I guess the tension on the bridge was just that thick. Our first officer was gracious enough to take you on the side and glue you in. Sometimes I think that's Commander Rennick's superpower, her ability to process crappy news and deliver it in a form that's easy for the recipient to digest. Maybe she could work part-time as an assistant ship counselor. Speaking of counselors, by the way, I hope Counselor Duval isn't still hounding you about making an appointment. But you know you've got to meet with him at some point. If only for a few. Damn it, you're doing it again. I should have never told you interpersonal communications was one of my favorite subjects in Academy. You always managed to give me just enough juicy tidbits to get me rambling and distracted from any subject related to you. Now seriously, level with me. It's me you're talking to, remember? You can tell me anything. What was so embarrassing about the other night? Okay, I promise I won't laugh. Yes, of course I remember. I was there. Go on. Yeah, you did seem pretty excited at first, and then you were doing a really great job of getting me excited. Kudos to whoever taught you how to do that, by the way. And then all of a sudden you... Oh. No. I'm not laughing at what happened. No, it's just... Is that all? Did you really think I'd think less of you because of that? What I find funny is that you think that's actually an issue. In fact, I think it's kind of hot that I made you lose control like that. Of course, the fact that my legs were wrapped around your head at the time may have contributed to that just a wee bit. Unlike human females, our pheromones are heavily concentrated in our thighs. You must have gotten a heavy dose all at once. Okay, you got me. I did tell you to level with me, so I'll be equally honest with you. I did just get a mental image of you stumbling around your cabin and frantically scrambling to find a change of boxers and trousers at the same time I was in my quarters trying to slip on a fresh pair of panties and a fresh uniform. Sounds like something out of a bad comedy skit. Well, screw you too. What? Do you change your mind about throwing me into the brig? Go ahead. Call the guards. I dare you. I have no problem performing in front of a captive audience. I'll kick their asses. Then I'll make them sit in the corner and watch us go at it. If I make them take notes, maybe they'll learn something. But seriously, that's never happened to you before? Pheromones or not, I must admit, you must have been really turned on to arrive just from burying your face in my... You're shifting in your chair. Did I stir up some naughty thoughts in your head? Yeah, you're having flashbacks, aren't you? Now, was that so hard? What do you mean by pun intended? What the hell's a pun? I haven't pinned down all of your human idioms and catchphrases yet, just like it's common practice for all of you to call my people Andorians, even though on my continent, we pronounce it Andorian. No, what I meant was it so hard for you to own up to your little, incident? You were having a great time with a hot-ass chick. You got really excited, and then you popped. Big deal. You make it sound like a Borg Armada was chasing us or something. The truth is, the only way you could have really disappointed me is if you dropped by to tell me you were running back into the arms of that rancid bitch. Come on, you can't deny me this one thing. Yes, I actually do have to call her a bitch, because her actions earned her that title a dozen times over. I'm actually cutting her a lot of slack. We both know a lot worse names are swirling around in my head, begging to be unleashed. Yes, we know you don't hold grudges. That's why Commander Rennick's been running Ensign Bennett ragged with the toughest, dirtiest jobs she can assign him ever since that intercom stunt. She knew that once Bennett apologized to you, you would have just smiled, accepted his apology, and then clapped him on the shoulder. The commander's got to ride him hard so that the lesson will stick. And I've got to call your loony ex a bitch. I've just got to. Honor and civility demand it. That's why I keep telling you, and I'm gonna keep telling you until... No, not until I'm blue in the face. Oh, that's so funny. If you ever leave the fleet, you can always become a stand-up comedian. What I was going to say is that I'm gonna keep telling you that until you realize that I'm not everybody else. I see things in you that other people just don't see. And just like you see things in me that other people don't see either. And why are you in such a joking mood all of a sudden? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad to see this version of you again. He's been MIA these past few days, but after all that's happened, and now that everyone knows, how do you feel? That's a great way to look at it. Now that it's out in the open, I suppose it is like a great weight's been lifted. Sometimes hiding stuff like that just makes it worse. You see, that's another thing. Nobody jeered. Nobody made light of your misfortune. Instead, everyone rallied around you, just like I said they would. Come to think of it, didn't I see Commander O'Reilly walk up to you and out of the blue give you a big hug the other day? He hates touching people. All he likes to be close to is engine components. But even he reached way beyond his comfort zone to show his support. The whole crew has your back, and I've got your back, your front, and everything in between. Hell, I even think the Mjolnir herself, if she were a living, sentient being, would replicate a hot cocoa with tiny marshmallows just the way you like it, wrap those big warp engine cells around you, and tell you that everything is going to be okay. Without even knowing it, that's the kind of culture you've fostered here. Listen, I'm not like those people who took you for granted, who snickered about you behind your back. I'm not sitting around looking just to pass judgment or find fault. And if I have an issue with you, I'm going to let you know right then so we can work through it together, not sit around for months leading you on while secretly plotting exit strategies behind your back like some sort of... Yeah, you're right. No need to get worked up, but it just makes me so angry when I think about what she did to you. It's not just that she betrayed you. Don't get me wrong, that's the main reason, but there's another reason. Among my people, absolute candor is a very big deal. Vulcans are always bragging about how they're supposedly incapable of lying, but no one ever stops to think about the veracity of the Andorian heart. It was formed from centuries of war and adversity. Within our plans, we had to learn to place absolute trust in one another in order to survive a harsh and unforgiving, resource-poor world. Then, when we discovered the warm underground caverns that would not only allow us to survive, but to thrive and flourish, we had to rely on a strong code of ethics and honor to manage resources and settle disputes. Candor and trust are what finally put an end to all of our senseless wars that our clans had been waging against one another generation after generation. So it irks me when people hide the truth for no good reason. Don't get me wrong, if misdirection or untruths mean the difference between war and peace, between life and death, I can get on board with that. I'm not naive. But lying to satisfy one's pride, to avoid disappointing someone, or just avoid an ass chewing, I can't abide by that. I've seen too much crazy shit go down just because family, friends, and lovers weren't straight up and upfront with one another. Well, now that that's been sorted out, what's in the container you placed on the table? No, you didn't. Where did you score fresh Gristhera? And a side of Ganache? Oh my god, that's my favorite. This is so good. Here, try some. It just has the right amount of crunch and seasoning. These replicators could never do it justice. The only thing that can make this better is Honar sauce. And it's non-replicated too. Well, don't just stand there holding it. Give me. And what else do you have tucked away in that jacket? Okay, how did you pull this off? And remember what we just talked about. Level with me. No bullshit. There are only a handful of Andorian colonies where you can get this stuff from, and we're nowhere near any of them. So how did you... Oh, so that's where the Friday was here for. You told the crew we were trading supplies for the new deuterium injectors. Oh, we did get some injectors. And the freighter captain just happened to have some fresh Andorian delicacies tucked away in a cargo hold? Wait a minute. Just how many freighter captains actually owe you favors? That's like the 8th one this year. I know we've rescued one or two from the occasional pirate raid here and there, and we tracked that freighter to safety, that was about to fall into the Calyx system's black hole, but where did the others come from? Word of mouth, huh? My dear Captain, are you running some secret operation your chief security officer should know about? Okay, your secret's safe with me. For now. And while you're at it, did any of your benefactors happen to score some Romulan ale? If you're gonna smuggle something, at least have the common indecency to smuggle something that's... Wait. What's that? I appreciate the offer, but I've already had 2 coffees today. A third one is gonna have me bouncing off the bulkheads. Hold on. That's... Oh my, that's Shalish. How do you even know about that drink? Less than a handful of non-Andorians have even heard the name, and those happen to have Andorians as either very close friends, in-laws, or lovers. Who told you about it? More importantly than that, where did you get the ingredients from? Oh, Lieutenant Paxton must have told you. I forgot his wife's Andorian, but none of these ingredients keep well in storage or stasis, and I can tell that this batch was cooked up only a day or 2 ago, so... Sure, you can get all the necessary fixings from any Andorian colony, and even a few non-Andorian worlds, but how... Well, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You mean to tell me that when you were dropping off all those Zeradan refugees, you cherry-picked planets that just so happened to have the ingredients you needed? Let me get this straight. You basically dovetailed an intergalactic shopping list onto a rescue mission. You leapfrogged across 3 different sectors to pull all this together for me? Okay, I'm amending my honesty list. It's okay to lie to prevent a war, to save a life, and to surprise me with my favorite dishes, delicacies, and ceremonial beverages. I don't know what to say. I mean, do you even know the significance of Shalish among my people? Lieutenant Paxton didn't tell you? You just heard it was a gesture extended to very close acquaintances and a bonding ceremony of sorts without a lot of ceremony? But it's much more than that. You see, our legends tell us that centuries ago, a man was traveling through the frozen wastes with only a canteen of Shalish. He'd lost his supply of food when ice gave way as he was crossing a frozen lake. And as you've probably figured out, the drink is a complex mixture of carbs, fats, proteins, and herbs designed to fortify someone against extreme cold and fatigue. The traveler only had enough Shalish for 2 days, and he figured he could make it to his destination in 1. But when he came across a woman who had gotten lost after a snowstorm separated her from her clan, everything changed. She was weak from hunger and exposure. Together, they found shelter in a nearby cave, and he shared his Shalish with her. Even though he knew that it would deplete his supply and make it almost impossible for him to safely complete his journey. But then, something amazing happened. The woman, now strong enough to walk around, happened to stumble down a deep cavern. The man, fearing the worst, scrambled down to rescue her. To his surprise and wonderment, the woman was smiling. She'd felt heat on the cavern floor and begun digging with a knife he'd given her earlier. She soon discovered an underground hot spring. Once it became safe to travel again, the pair was able to make it to the man's intended destination, where he told everyone about the hot springs. Word got around quickly, and it led to the foundation of one of the first underground cities. When we drink this, we're remembering and we're reliving the story of my people. We're reminding ourselves of the great things that people can accomplish together. What happens when the many become the one? One purpose, one passion, one love. Think about it. Our entire civilization was basically born of a man who was kind of heart and a woman who was quick of wit. They just so happened to cross each other's paths. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Why is that story never taught in the academy? Well, the official story of how our underground cities were founded makes us sound a lot cooler. Think about it. What story do you think inspires soldiers and scares off potential enemies more? A badass band of warriors who traveled hundreds of miles, used their swords and hammers as tools, and dug out a city with their bare hands? Or a meet-cute story about a star-crossed couple who happened to stumble onto a warm spring? That's a good question. I'm not sure which version I prefer the most, but I like them both, I suppose. And now I accept this hearty beverage in the spirit in which it was given before it gets cold. Wait a minute. What did you just do with your hands? How do you even know that gesture? Yes, of course, I know what it is. I just want to know how you know it. Yes, I know you pick a different planet each year whenever your 2-week shore leave comes around. A few years ago, you went to Kronos. We had started a betting pool down in security about whether too much blood wine or the Klingons you won all that gold-pressed latinium from at the gambling house would land you in sickbay. You went to Vulcan after that because you loved the architecture. And then you went to You went to Andor a few months after that shuttle accident. No, I'm not a detective. Well, maybe a little bit. Security chief, remember? Anyways, you were saying... Geez, you really do have friends everywhere. So, one of your Andorian buddies told you about the Shalish during shore leave. But that was a long time ago. Why didn't you offer it to me back then? We were good friends. It can be offered either very close friends or potential mates. Even though you were engaged, it wouldn't have been inappropriate. Oh, wow. You were conflicted. I had no idea you felt that way about me back then. So you thought it would have cheapened the gesture to extend it to me as just a friend? But you knew you couldn't do anything else because of your feelings for Emily. So you decided to do nothing. That gesture you just made after handing the cup to me, it's an offer of bonding. It extends only to prospective mates. And you didn't do it like an off-worlder. You did it perfectly. Like one of us would have. And you've heard the story about the man and the woman before too, haven't you? Stop grinning, you cheeky bastard. Why'd you let me go on and on if you already knew about it? Because you love the way I tell stories? I've never heard my voice described as melodic before, and nobody's ever told me the very sound of it brightens their world. Are you sure you're okay? You're just full of surprises, and you're precious beyond your ability to comprehend. The universe owes you a lot, you know that? Now, see, that's where you're wrong. Life has taught me that the people who always say they're owed something aren't actually owed anything because they haven't earned it. And the people who always say nobody owes them anything are owed everything because they've earned it. You've poured so much good into the universe, and now it's time for you to collect. There. I believe that's the appropriate response to your gesture in keeping with the traditions of my people. And now, I respond in keeping with the tradition of yours. Just moving a stray hair, huh? Yeah, I bet. Like I don't know when someone's caressing my face. Your hands are so warm, firm, and yet so gentle. No, don't stop. It feels nice. You can move a little higher. Yeah, you can touch them. I want you to. My antennae are super sensitive at the tips, but anything touching the base or the stalk feels great, especially with hands as gentle and nimble as yours. Lean in closer. No, I'm not doing that. Not on purpose, anyways. Kind of like a reflex. External stimulation gives them a mind of their own sometimes. Just so happens they want to brush gently against your forehead. You're showing them love, so they're showing it back. Now, I believe that the last time we were together, I told you I would take care of you the way you took care of me. I can't go back on my word now, can I?